So this is webinar number 3 of a 7-part series for those that just joined us. My name is Brian Beane. It is not your honor to be here. It is my honor, man, to be speaking to you guys. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate it. You could be watching a whole bunch of things on TV, but you're using that device called your cell phone or your computer to empower yourself, which will eventually empower your family, which will empower generations. And you guys know we can change the world with knowledge. The only difference between wealthy people and people who struggle, people think it's money, but it's really not. It's knowledge. It's a certain mindset that it takes to be successful. So once you understand certain success principles, money will be more abundant. If you don't understand success principles, money will always evade you. So again, my Instagram is I am Brian Beane. I'm gonna do a lot of personal empowerment this year on my Instagram, and I'm gonna do a lot of economic empowerment here, as you see on Facebook and different outlets. So welcome to the webinar. Now, how was this wealthathon and why was this wealthathon created? Well, I was pretty sick over the holidays around the end of December, first part of January. And I was just thinking to myself, because that's all I could do is I lay in bed. I said, man, if I could just talk to a whole bunch of people right now and tell them how blessed I am to not even be able to speak, right? My voice was a little messed up. My wind was low. I had like a slight flu bug, but my checks just kept on climbing. It was unbelievable. Whereas back in the day when I had a job, when I graduated from college and I went to Morehouse, I got my degree in '97. Man, you miss a few days of work, you start adding up how much money you losing. Oh my goodness, I'm out of sick days. Oh my, I gotta go in sick no matter how I'm feeling. When I was sick, I cut my phone off. I caught up on some movies, read a few magazines, caught up on some documentaries, read some books, and received 4 or 5 checks in a span of 5 to 9 days. Received 4 or 5 different checks from different sources. Why? Because the wealth mindset that I adopted many, many years ago, I was blessed to retire when I was only 22. That mindset still carries with me at 42, you see? And I didn't always have this mindset, right? I actually lost my first $1 million in my 20s. I earned 7 figures and didn't have a thing to show for it because I didn't understand the strategies I'm gonna show you guys tonight. So luckily in my 30s, I recovered. And in my 40s, and now I'm doing what's called coasting. And I don't mean coasting like taking it easy. I'm putting the pedal to the metal, but I'm coasting when it relates to, just the stress levels that, not having money would bring, being in a position where I can help more people and use technology such as this to empower other people. And you'll see the webinar number 1 was about the mindset it takes to operate in capitalism, right? There are a lot of different social economic systems. One is communism, which is like China, right? North Korea, there's a different level of communism. Cuba, which means zero opportunity. No opportunities exist in communism. The people have no say so. Then you have what's called socialism. That's Canada, that's Denmark, that's Norway, that's Sweden. These are countries that believe that we're all equal if we just stay right here. The lawyer should make the same amount of money as the hairdresser. The hairdresser should make the same amount of money as the police officer. The entrepreneur should make the same amount of money as the educator. So if we all just stay even and keep it right here, crime should be down, stress should be down, because we're all equal. How cool would that be? Then you have what's called capitalism. Well, socialism means limited opportunity. Capitalism means unlimited opportunity. But the problem and the reason most Americans struggle is because you have a socialist mentality in a capitalistic society. So what that means is if you don't learn right now that America says, look, there's plenty of opportunity, but you got to get out there and seize it. There's plenty of information, but you got to go out there and grab the knowledge. There's plenty of resources, but you can't be lazy. America says, I'm not giving you anything but a chance. You see what I'm saying? That's what America says. No handouts. But here's the trick. You think they owe you a handout. You see, America says everybody's equal, wink, wink. And we know that's not true. There's some people born with an advantage, and it's okay. I'm not knocking those people. I'm doing the best I can every day to give my son an unfair advantage. That's what you're supposed to do. My son will have way more money at 21 than I ever had because his dad changed the pattern of brokenness when he was born. You see? So you're supposed to have an unfair advantage. The problem is America will lead you to believe that they're responsible for your success. Oh, Social Security is going to take care of you. Oh, corporate America, your pension is going to take care of you. Oh, your 401k should be enough. Oh, get a little bit from the church. You see, oh, put your money in a savings account. We'll give you negative 1% interest, and that should work by the time you're 65, because those are the golden years. And your retirement, you shouldn't have as many expenses, so your income doesn't have to be as high. See, that's the BS that they sell you. So you start thinking over time that this country really cares. And I'm here to tell you, they don't. And the minute you get tough in business and start understanding that the only hand you can depend on is the one at the end of your wrist, then you'll start saying, you know what? It's time for me to get tough. It's time for me to get educated. It's time for me to take my finances serious. It's time for me to stop putting it on the back burner. It's time for me to start investing. It's time to get out of this debt. It's time to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's time for me to get double-digit returns. It's time for me, you'll start changing the way you think. And when you change the way you think, you change your outcome. So that was webinar number 1. Number 2, yesterday. Yesterday, we got down and dirty. We talked about the difference between income and cash flow. A lot of people don't know the difference. Income is measured in dollars. Cash flow is measured in time. Until you learn the difference between income and cash flow, your income can be sky high and your cash flow can be zero. That's why most Americans are broke. Their income is great, but their cash flow is nothing. So they end up shifting their wealth to other entities. They shift their wealth to the government in the form of a tax refund. They shift their wealth to the banks in the form of high interest credit cards and student loans and houses most people can't afford, or several car notes. They shift their wealth away in the form of getting new clothes every day and trying to get flat screens every week and curved screens and all these different things that technology will always come up with because that's their job. Nothing wrong with nice things, but you got to shift that wealth back to you and let your assets buy your toys. You see, broke people in the middle class buy the appearances of wealth. Wealthy people never have to try to appear wealthy because they don't have to appease broke people who wish they were wealthy. So what a lot of times what broke people do and what the middle class will do is try to have this silent competition. Your neighbor got this, so you got to get that. You in this neighborhood, so y'all looking at what each other have, and they got a car, you got to get a car. I know what you're saying. That's not me, that's not me, that's not me. And it may not be you. I'm talking about, but for the most part, there's a silent competition going on in the middle class as to who can appear more successful. I see it in families all the time, right? What wealthy people do is say, hey, I'm thinking about my asset column. I'm keeping my expenses and liabilities down, and I'm getting my assets and my income as high as possible so that my cash flow will be through the roof, and I'll one day be able to brag on the money that I make not working. You ever notice the middle class, they brag on the money they make working. I make 6 figures. Well, you got a job that pays you 6 figures and they make billions of dollars. So congratulations. Nothing wrong with 6 figures, but it's nothing to beat your chest about. You know what I mean? I earn 100,000 and they really take home 77,000. No one ever says I earn 100,000 before taxes. They always say I make 6 figures and they try to live off $100,000 when they really take home 72. They take home 77. So what happens is the middle class tries to buy the appearances of success, where wealthy people, believe it or not, they don't have to buy those appearances because their assets represent their success. So you can put on some khakis and a golf shirt and be a billionaire, whereas the person with absolutely nothing has to have the Gucci socks, the Gucci underwear, the Louis Vuitton sandals, Cartier shades, the this and that, and try to look wealthy, and assets are zero. All they did was shift their wealth to Cartier, shift their wealth to Louis Vuitton, Gucci draws, flip-flops. I see it all the time. Nothing wrong with brands, nothing wrong with nice things. Please let your assets pay for them. So on webinar number 2, we talked about 5 cash flow streams, 5 cash flow streams that you can create for yourself with what's called synergistic alignment, meaning the same energy and the same effort brings these cash flow streams. If you're ready for topic number 3 tonight, type, I'm ready. Let's work. Tonight's topic is, I said earlier, something you should stay away from. I want to change that. It's just something you need to be aware of. I want you to write this down. Anytime you hear the word interest, a loan is involved. What this means, when I say anytime you hear the word interest, a loan is involved, if you use what I'm about to teach you guys tonight as a cornerstone, you'll never be fooled by another financial advisor, another person trying to get you to do a deal that looks like you'll benefit when really they benefit, because you're going to say to yourself, you know what? Brian said, anytime I hear the word interest, a loan is involved. Because think about it, guys. No one, the lender or the borrower, can do business if the money being transacted doesn't have some interest on top. So now that you hear, okay, anytime I hear the word interest, a loan is involved. Your job is to track the loan. Skip over the person who's trying to give you the loan, follow me, and find out what they're investing in so you can get wholesale returns instead of retail returns. Let me give you an example. Brian, what do you mean skip over the person that's giving me the loan? Okay. I want you to imagine, or we've all done this, when you walk into a bank, they offer you, when you were younger, a checking account, a savings account, money market, CD. These are what are called cash equivalents. This is very important. If you walk into a bank, let's act like I'm the banker. I don't know you from Adam. I offer you sight unseen 1% interest. Something should hit you guys right now. Okay, Brian said, anytime I hear the word interest, a loan is involved. Well, if I'm offering you 1% interest, that means I'm loaning your money. See, the minute you give me that $100, that $200, that $1,000, do you guys know it is no longer in your checking account? The books of the bank have been adjusted, and millions of people who are giving thousands of dollars make the bank a billion-dollar company. So their asset column says 5 billion, 20 billion. That's off the backs of the small guy opening up checking accounts, saving accounts, money market, and CDs. So your money hits your checking account and they give you 1% interest. It's because they're getting 35% interest off the billions that they just invested somewhere in China. Your money is not at the bank. See, understand this, guys. The bank is banking on the hope that none of us all ever need our money at the same time. So what they do is you come in, put 500 in. I come in, I need 500 out. That was your 500, okay? But the minute you put that 500 in, that money went over to China somewhere and got invested, right? So you're gonna get your little 1% out of the 30% they're getting, because anytime you hear the word interest, a loan is involved. You're just on the wrong side of the loan. I'll get into that in a second, but I want you to understand. So if I don't know you, all I need is your driver's license, your social security number. I'm the banker. I'm gonna give you a checking account. I'm gonna tell you the monthly minimums. Most people are not gonna hit them, so we're gonna hit you with a $15 fee, $18 fee, $10 fee. So now I'm making $10 a month. I'm making $120 a year just off everybody's fees. God forbid you get an NSF fee. That's $28 or $33 or whatever it is these days. I got the monthly fee. I got the NSF fee. I got the stock transaction fee. I got the wire transfer fee. I got all these fees. And then I'm giving you 1%. You know why? Because your checking account, your savings account, your money market account, your CD is what's called a cash equivalent. What that means is these are products that the banker has set up for the employees to sell. And because it's a cash equivalent, the person who owns it generally needs that money within 24 to 48 hours. That's why they give you a debit card with it. So, Brian, what are you getting at? Well, think about it. If the bank is giving you 1% and they're using your money to do it, why don't you just use your own money and put it where the bank is putting it? So yeah, banks are banking on the hope that we all don't come say, you know what, I need everything in my checking and I need everything in my savings. What? Yeah, all of us right now. That whole bank, the whole banking system would crumble. It's not there. So they're hoping that some people need payroll while some people are making deposits. Some people are making deposits, some people going off to college. The interest rate from the money that people are paying back the college loans are being put into the car note they just gave somebody else. The car note they just gave somebody else, the interest on that car is being put towards somebody's mortgage. The interest over the term of the mortgage is being put back on somebody's credit card. The bank is using all of our money to build $1 billion asset. Then they give you 1% off the interest they got from your money collectively. Then they give you what's called immediate access to it as if they're doing you a favor. A cash equivalent by law has to be protected by the FDIC up to a certain amount, right? So because the bank is lending your money the minute it hits the account, they have to insure your funds. That's why if anything ever happens, you lose your debit card or some scammer on the internet gets access to your account, guess what? We get that right back to you, Mr. Beane. No problem. They have to do that. My money's insured because the bank is lending it. So they have to back it with something. You understand? So remember my quote, and you'll think about this a little different. Anytime you hear the word interest, a loan is involved. Track the loan. So why do you have to go through me, the banker, to get 1% when you can take your money and put it in the bank itself and get paid off everybody's money? Everybody do me a favor. If you're feeling me right now, just type in the comments, I want it all. see, sometimes it's okay to posture yourself and say, you know what? I want it all. Why are they giving me 1% when they getting 30%, 20%, at the bare minimum, 15%? Why don't I just find out what the bank is investing in? In fact, I want y'all to think about it this way. You obviously believe in the bank because you are giving them your money every pay period. You're putting the money in there every pay period. You have a savings account with the bank every chance you get. You got automatic transfer and all these different things that they offer you. So you obviously believe in the bank. Well, guys, let me just ask you a question. If you believe in the bank enough to hold your money and get it back to you, why don't you believe in the bank enough to own a piece of the bank and get paid off some of everybody's money? Oh, I know why. Because that's not what they offer you when you walk in, is it? They offer you a cash equivalent. You see the difference? They offer you the 1%. See, you have to understand, guys, the person that's opening your checking account, it's not a knock against bankers. I was a banker, just so you guys know. I was a teller, all of that. Okay, I was in banking the first 4 years of my college career. So I'm not knocking banking. I want you to understand this. The person opening your checking account doesn't have the credentials to show you a rate of return other than that 1%. See, they're qualified to sell you a cash equivalent. They're not qualified to show you how to own a piece of the bank. Guys, the bank is a business just like Walmart, just like Target, just like Best Buy. They're selling you a product just like headphones, just like a camera, just like a laptop. So their products come in the form of low interest bearing cash equivalents. And guess what? That's what the American public is buying. Ooh, let me get a checking account. Let me get a savings account. Open one for my son. Give me 2 of those. Give me a lollipop. Can I get some candy? Let me get one of them Jolly Ranchers. Ooh, they love me. Let me get 2 of those peppermints. Baby, you want some candy? Give him a green lollipop. Woo, we banking. Y'all know I'm tripping, but for real, that's what it is. So here's the thing. I want y'all to write this down. And you already got this. Anytime you hear the word interest, a loan is involved. So I'll do this later on this week. Remember, this is webinar 3 of 7. If interest is involved on your credit card, somebody lent you some money. That's how you pay back interest. That interest is being used on somebody else's car note. So believe it or not, that car note has interest. That's because a loan is involved. The interest you pay, you give the principal back. The interest you pay is being used on somebody's mortgage. So believe it or not, you are sending other people to school. It's just not your kids. Oh, you paying more car notes than just yours? Yeah, because the interest you're giving goes into the ether and works through perpetuity forever. That means the bank uses all the extra money you gave them and they give it to somebody else to borrow. So your money works for other people through perpetuity. Do you understand that? We'll get into debt later on this week and how to eliminate it. But I want you to understand cash equivalents first. Now, here are the characteristics. A cash equivalent, just listen to the name, that means it's equal to cash. So a checking account is a cash equivalent. A savings account is a cash equivalent. A CD is a cash equivalent. A money market account, not money management, money market account is a cash equivalent. It's just a savings account with checking account privileges. Okay? Now, why is the interest rate on a cash equivalent so low? The answer is simple. They gave you a debit card and they know that the minute your direct deposit or payroll hits, you're going to need that money to pay bills tomorrow. So they can't loan it very long. And if I can't loan your money very long because you're going to be back in here tomorrow talking about, can I get my money out of my savings account? Then I got to give you 1% because I'm not making enough money off of this product. So Best Buy sells cameras, laptops, MP3 players, and whatever else, computers and everything else, hard drives. The bank sells CDs, money market accounts, checking accounts, and saving accounts. And because they know the consumer like the back of their hand, they can only give you 1%. So here's the question I have for you guys. Using the rule of 72, which I'll get into again later this week, we got a lot to cover. If you give the bank $1 or $100, you got to take the 1%. I'll just use $1. You got to take the interest rate, 1%, divide it into 72. That means you have to be 72 years old for your dollar to double. So you got to be 144 to get $2. So the rule of 72 states, you take the interest rate, divide it into 72, and that's how long your money is going to take to double. So at 1% cash equivalent, at 1%, you'll be 72 when your money doubles if your mom put $1 in the bank when you were born. And you'll be 144, that's right, you know what you'll really be by then, but you'll be 144 when you get $2. Because you got to take $1 and divide it into 72. That's a mathematical formula that bankers use to double your money. So guys, what's my point? Before we wrap up here, write this down. You can't get rich at the bank. You can't get rich at the bank. 1%, 2%, the interest rates are less than inflation on cash equivalents. If inflation is 4% and your money is earning 1%, you're -3. So you wonder why you're losing. If inflation is 4%, inflation means the cost of living going up every day, right? Education, groceries, gas, daycare, healthcare, clothes. Interest rates, inflation is going up every day. Inflation averages 4%. You're getting 2%. So by the time I add up my monthly fees and my overdraft fees and my transfer fees and my wire fees and my banking fees and all these fees, you negative every year. So Americans wonder why they're losing. It's because you're buying products from a commercial or retail bank, not an investment bank. The retail banks take your money and go talk to the investment banks and make money. Guys, it's not hard. You know why? Anytime you hear the word interest, a loan is involved. So when they give you 1% interest, your money got lent before you even got your little bank ledger and signed your little signature card. Your money went over to Australia somewhere. You start saying, wait a minute, that don't make sense. Why am I getting 1%? A loan is involved somewhere. Let me track the loan and own a piece of this whole bank. And now their whole portfolio, including everybody in here, I'm getting 10% off of. We'll talk about that this week. So how do you know a cash equivalent? I'm sorry, I keep digressing. One, if you have access to it within 24 to 48 hours, it's a cash equivalent. People ask me all the time, Brian, if I put money in my 401k and I need it, you bringing a cash equivalent mentality to a 401k, which is a tax code. That's not for when you need it. That's for when you retire. Okay, now, Brian, now if I put my money into some of those money management funds that you talk about, but then I need it. See, you bringing a cash equivalent, you're bringing a retail banker mentality to a long-term investment. That's the problem. Number two, a quality of a cash equivalent is insured by the FDIC. Why? Because they're loaning your money out. So they have to insure it. So if it's FDIC insured, you know you got a cash equivalent. If it's immediate access to it within 24 to 48 hours, you know you got a cash equivalent. You see? So a cash equivalent usually performs at an interest rate lower than inflation. So 3%, 2%, 1%, generally a cash equivalent. Those are the three things you need to know. So now when somebody's talking to you, why don't you open up this? Why don't you open up that? You're like, please, I got my money and my debit card in here just so I won't get robbed. That's what I tell people, right? There's no need of me carrying that much cash around. I only got my money in the bank just enough to function, just so I won't have cash. That's the only purpose of your checking account, to pay your bills. If you're looking at it any other way than easy access to some income that you may need soon, then you got on the wrong hat. So you can't bring the investment attitude to a cash equivalent, like it's gonna make you a whole bunch of money, and you can't bring the cash equivalent attitude to a T. Rowe Price money management fund like you need it right away. That's the difference between wealthy people and poor people. Wealthy people don't put their money in banks, and poor people don't put their money in money management companies. And now you see why they got different results.